kicking off this week, I think the main kind of overriding topic, which has kind of dominated the sports world this week, is the Messi saga. I'm going to try my best not to keep calling it like a Messi situation or a Messi time at Barcelona, because it's absolute cliche at the minute. But it is. It is a bit of a mess over there. I mean, to dig into the backstory a little bit, because it is a bit of a far-reaching tale and what's gone on over there and what's developed throughout this last week or so. I think Barca have been having a bit of Barcelona, so to say, have been having a bit of a bad patch by their standards. They've underachieved over the last couple of years, I think you'd agree. And that kind of culminated in the 8-2 defeat to Bayern Munich a couple of weeks ago. And we touched on that last week as well. The fallout from that is it caused a lot of unrest at the club. There was pressure on the players, pressure in the boardroom. The kind of the notion of the underachievement was rife in the club. Consequently, the manager lost his job. Again, hadn't done a good enough job with the players that he had. New manager comes in, Ronald Koeman, and my guess is that he was given the instruction by the president, by the board, to clean up shop. He's gone through that squad there, and he's trying to get rid of a bunch of the old fellas that they're paying an absolute wad of money to each week. They've told Suarez he can go. Messi's best mate told him he's surplus to requirements, so he's out the door. What that then causes is Messi to trigger a clause in his contract, which stated that if he gave notice at the end of the season, which this year would have been June the 10th, if he gave notice that day, he could leave the club on a free. Normally, and Barcelona still contests this, that he has a 700 million euro release clause. Now, Messi has put in that notice, wants to leave. Barca will contend that he missed the date, being the 10th of June. I guess that clause wasn't written into his contract with a pandemic in mind. So Messi's contesting that the season didn't end on the 10th. It's kind of just ended now. It's going to go, I guess, to court tribunals potentially, unless he can come to some kind of agreement as to how they proceed. Now, whether that means the board backing down, whether that means they find a deal from another club that's less than 700 million, but is a fair amount for someone of Messi's quality. It's an absolute mad situation. It's developing kind of day to day. I guess my question for you, Grant, is what happens next? Where's he going to go?
Yeah, it's a great question, to be honest. We're all in sort of limbo at the moment, and you know, we've discussed as well that there's only probably a few options out there for him, really. Given, like you said, the complexities and all this that's happening now, the likely destination in my mind, believe it or not, is Manchester City. Now, as a Man United fan and you as a Liverpool fan, Manchester City are a common enemy, of course, the way that they've gone about things in obviously recent years and the history there. But I've come round to the fact that I think every football fan, in my opinion, should want Messi to sign for Man City. And the reason why is for years they've compared Ronaldo. There's this comparison about, you know, Messi and Barcelona, and, you know, he's had Xavi and Iniesta feeding him all the time, such a thing. And this is the first time where Messi can really go outside of his comfort zone. This is the very first time we can see this as football fans. And he's doing it at 33 years of age and coming to England. And it's always, the comparison has always been not only Ronaldo, but, you know, can he do it on a cold Tuesday night in Stoke? It's always the football analogy. And I know how good he is, and you know how good he is. And yes, he's played the elite of England. He's played the elite of Europe on the European stage, and at times has embarrassed them, and quite a lot embarrassed them, and shown his class. So I have no doubt that, can he beat Stoke? Yes, Messi can beat Stoke, and he can show his brilliance. But where I think that is interesting is, if he signs for Manchester City, next season they'll be playing Burnley away, for example. Rigid 4-4-2. You know, classic 4-4-2. Yep. You know, I want to see Messi, what he's like. If it's a Tuesday night and it's windy, perfect. It doesn't have to be, but perfect. And I want to see Phil Bardsley, kicking lumps out of him, and I want to see the genius at work. I want to see some brilliance from him, and I think that is why I would say that is the footballer's choice. To go to Man City, but it's not only that; it's also he can make a difference at Manchester City as well. He can be a part of something new. It's a new chapter. He's testing himself, like I said, at 33 years of age. He can more or less guarantee Manchester City the title, I would say. Here and now, if he signed, the bookies would probably make him favourite. I would argue. I don't know what your thoughts are. But he can also, the most important thing is he can finally get Manchester City to the Holy Grail, and he could potentially win them the Champions League. So automatically, that you could quite easily say they can do the treble, no question, with that signing. Obviously, it's Pep Guardiola as well, given that's why I think a lot of people are making that, that sort of comparison or that match.
Yeah.
So he's got his mate there, and Pep Guardiola got arguably the best out of him. A lot of the backroom staff are ex-Barcelona. The structure's set up ex-Barcelona, probably Barcelona of the good old days. And I think, obviously, the question mark is, I think he will fit in, of course. The structure's there for him to fit in.
Yeah.
But it's also the cost that's involved as well. Because I'm sure he's on the figures being branded about is what, a million a week or something like that he's on. But then if there's no transfer fee involved, well, obviously it's a lot less there. They're not paying 200, 700, whatever million. So yes, the wages is a big thing. But I think for it to work as well, don't forget is you buy Messi the brand as well. Yeah. So it's the shirt sales, it's Adidas, it's MasterCard, it's Huawei, it's FIFA games, it's In the Red Corner podcast for all I care. It's everything. It is, and you're getting Messi the brand, similar to when Man United sold David Beckham to Real Madrid. I always say that's probably one of the cheapest deals in football. It was 25 million. What was 25 million? 25 million was probably earned back in shirts that weekend for Lionel Messi. So sorry for David Beckham. So so that's what they've got to factor in. And I know people say, well, Manchester City is sponsored by Puma, and he's the face of Adidas. So what happens there? Barcelona have been sponsored for Nike for years. There's no problem there. No. I think it was Kappa before then, or there's no issue when that happens. There's no issue at all. But as I say, it's a big call, and it's a big, it's obviously a big decision. But I wonder, the reason why I say Man City as well is, from Man City's point of view, or the way Man City standards are, they've been fairly quiet in the transfer market so far. Yes, they've bought Nathan Ake for 40 million. They've bought Ferran Torres from Valencia, 23 million, wherever it is. So 60 million. You think, a bit of money there, but that's not big for Manchester City. And I've got a feeling that 8-2 victory, he sat in the dressing room. I've got a feeling Pep Guardiola was probably one of the first people to get the call. Say, hey Pep, is there any room at the inn?
In his DM.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. But that's what I can see. And if I was Pep Guardiola, he's got 1 year left. He brings in Lionel Messi. He could potentially win the treble, leave as the greatest of all time for Manchester City. And guess what? I don't have to move on my friend. If I leave Manchester City in a year's time, I don't have to move my friend on in Messi. And they're stuck with the financial implications of what do they do then? So if I'm Pep Guardiola, it's a win-win in my opinion. But what do you think? Where's it going?
It's happy days for Pep. That, I mean, it's hard to disagree with you. Like you said, I think the options for where he can physically go are pretty small. City being one of them. I think the other really viable option would be PSG. There's other options there. Inter Milan's been banded around. Bayern Munich's been banded around. I think the problem there is purely financial. I just don't think the likes of Bayern, Inter, even if you're talking about clubs like Liverpool, they just don't have the wage structure and the pure finances to make that to get that deal over the line. Depending on how it goes in terms of they come into some kind of agreement to let him go, I don't think he leaves Barcelona for anything less than a world record transfer fee, which is going to be 200 million plus. The question that then brings up is, how do teams like City and PSG justify that with the financial fair play rules? They're going to have to offload. They're going to have to offload people. One, to make room on the wage bill, but two, to also balance the financial fair play regulations. I'd love to see him at PSG. Firstly, because I don't want to see him playing at City particularly. In a way that I do, because it's amazing to see Messi playing in the Premier League. But if they're our closest rivals at the minute, and the lift he can bring to that team is huge. So I'm gonna barrack for the fact that I hope that he ends up at PSG. Just to think of that front line, playing with his mate Neymar, playing with Mbappe. If they can keep hold of those two as part of the deal, you've got a very dangerous front line there, which is just incredible. And then again, they'd be looking to compete. The French leagues are pretty much a given. They'd be looking again to compete in the Champions League. I think what it does, it really asks the question now is what's important to Lionel Messi. Does he want the money? Is he just looking for a payday? I don't think so. He's on that much money. Like, how much more money can you want? I don't think that's the case. Is he looking for a sporting project? Does he want to be part of something? When you've got the comparison between the two greatest players that ever done it, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, one thing that Ronaldo has over Messi is that he's done it everywhere. Wherever he's gone, he's been a winner. Messi's been at Barcelona his entire career, so he's not got that on his resume. I'd like to think that he would now like to go somewhere where he can be a part of a team. He doesn't have to be Messi that everyone looks to be like, even though he is going to be the best player in whatever team he goes to, he wants to be part of a project, I think. That screams out for City. It does scream out for PSG as well, that he can go there and win things and add to his legacy. I'd like to think that's what he's going to need to do. If he goes anywhere else, he'd be buying into a culture. Like, he would make a huge difference at teams like Bayern Munich, Dortmund, Inter Milan. But to go to those sides, I think he's going to have to take a massive pay cut. And you know what? Maybe he will. Maybe we're being too critical of him. But that's what I want to see. If you're asking me to put my money on where I think he'll go, I probably agree with you. I think we're going to see him at Man City next year. This year. And it's a terrifying and glorious thought all at once, isn't it? Like you said, it's a big test in terms of, can he do it playing against some big grok who plays for Burnley? Can he have the same impact? It's been a kind of an age-old question that we've had for years. And I don't know, maybe we're about to find out. So, I think we'll see him in the Premier League next year. Yeah. The only other caveat I think that I'd add to it is that it could all be a bit of a ploy for change. It could be a catalyst for change at Barcelona. This is kind of the boring view of it and the political view of it, but he could well be using his position and his power that he has within the club to force a regime change there in terms of the president. And it's not a good precedent to set, I don't think. If he can force a regime change, it shows us way too much player power that goes on at the club. But it might well happen. This is Messi. He is Barcelona. And if he wants something done, the threat of leaving when this team is already at a pretty low ebb is a really kind of viable threat that will be a catalyst for change. I wouldn't be surprised if by the next time we do a podcast, we've got a bit more clarity on what he's going to do. What we'll probably know is whether it's going to be a long, drawn-out process or if he's going to stay at Barcelona. I don't think we'll know where he's gone, but I think we'll know whether he's coming or going by the time we next speak.
Yeah, and like you say, he may have the aspirations to play alongside Jesse Lingard. Have you ever thought about that? No?
It was not to. I will say, though, that if they're forcing Luis Suarez out, I would absolutely have him back at Anfield.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think
to go back to Messi, would you, and again, this is all fancy booking this, but would you move on a Salah or a Mane plus cash for Messi, for example?
It's really hard to say no, isn't it? Because he's the best player in the world. So you think wherever you put him, you're improving your side. I mean, there is talk that Barcelona are looking into Mane. I've read a few reports this week about that. I just can't see it happening. Not so much because it wouldn't fit into the side or the. I think Liverpool play in a very structured way where I don't think Messi would have the free reign to just be Messi and do Messi things. I think we play in a very kind of structured way. And I don't think our wage structure would support having someone of that ilk. I also think it causes so much unrest in a squad. When you've got someone who comes in on that level of wages, you automatically raise the bar for everybody else. And next thing you've got Van Dijk knocking on Klopp's door and being like, well, I need to be closer to Messi in terms of my wages. And it wrecks the entire structure. I just don't. I'm sure there's been a conversation had at Melwood this week. I'm sure they've come in and been like, what does it look like? Because everyone in the kind of top tier of football, anyone who's in the top kind of 10 richest clubs in the world would have been stupid this week not to sit down and be like, how about Messi?
Crunch the numbers.
Crunch the numbers. It'll have happened at United. It'll have happened at Chelsea. I've no doubt it'll have happened at Anfield. But I don't think it's something. It's not something I'm even kind of considering. I don't think it will happen.
Yeah, well, and like you said, with the whole wage thing, we've just gone through turmoil at the moment and upset the apple cart with the whole Sanchez thing. That was a nightmare. Yeah, and that'd be a similar. And again, would I go through it with Messi? Yeah, of course I would over Sanchez. But like you say, it upsets the apple cart. A lot of players want pay rises. It's when they're not playing. It's, well, how can you have such a 500,000, 900,000 sat on the bench earning a week, and it just breeds a bad culture. And you're absolutely spot on what you say. Dortmund, Bayern Munich, they don't look for them players. They've got such a good culture, and it's about the team and that one team mentality that they don't go for those players. So that's why I don't think it, like you say, to cap, the options are limited, very limited for him. So.
Yeah.